The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Glory to you, O Lord. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who labor and are burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart. You will find rest for yourselves, for my yoke is easy and my burden light." The Gospel of the Lord. The Gospel today is the second half of the Gospel that we read yesterday. Most often the two sets of verses are put together, but for whatever reason they were divided today. So what does the passage really mean? Come to me, all you who labor. Perhaps when we first hear the word, we think of people who work hard, breaking up cement and moving houses and cleaning gutters or whatever job you find most difficult, or heavily burdened. It could mean that, and sometimes it does, and well, it should, but does it not more particularly mean bearing heavily the weight of life? Life is difficult. I love that line from Scott Peck. And if you don't think so, then wake up and smell the coffee. We all have troubles in life. We all need and long and want things. Sometimes they're material things, financial things, physical things, and sometimes spiritual things. We all have losses and hurts and disappointments in life, inevitably. And probably more often, we have such weights or burdens, labors in our life without hope or without a sense of purpose or direction. I think that describes a pretty wide swath of humanity and civilization. Many people are lost today. They don't have faith, or the faith they had they gave up on because rationally they couldn't figure it out anymore, the failings or faults or scandals of the church. And what's the purpose-driven life look like? So we get to the end of these verses, and Jesus says, well, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And some days, don't you just want to say, well, what's so easy about it? You don't know until you know. The yoke of Jesus, of course, is love, because Jesus himself is the yoke. That if we live the life of Jesus, and we live it in love, and we allow love to be what love is in us, then isn't the burden a lot lighter? And I know you know that. I can name just about everybody here and one of the burdens. Ben died. Your husband died. Your wife died. Your mother died. 2 of your brothers died. Your wife Janine died, etc. And if you read this passage, you'd probably want to grind your teeth and say, well, yeah, real nice. But aren't those the labors and the burdens of life? And what makes it easy? Because Jesus is love. Now, when was the last time you thought of love as easy? Love isn't easy in and of itself. It's difficult. It's inconvenient. You have to surrender if it's going to be real. You have to let go of your ego and yourself so that there's something in you emptied so you can take in the other person in a way that is real love. If you're just doing it on the surface, then you're just using the other person, feeling good about them and allowing them to feel good about you. But the reality is, people just use each other. That's not a bad thing. Sometimes it happens. But again, you know as well as I do that as beautiful and rich as love is, in many ways it is a suffering. And even there's something beautiful about that. Because the love of Jesus wretched and ugly as that cross is also a picture of beauty, the beauty of the love of God, that totally emptied the divine nature in the incarnate person of Jesus, who gave his life, who considered the yoke of the Father's love of no weight or burden at all. So that's why we might question, my yoke is easy. Well, what's easy about it? It's easy when we allow love to have its transforming power over us. Whether our lives are going swimmingly well or anxiously and despairingly difficult, God remains. It's an interesting tone or flavor in the first reading today, and again, quite by accident, the readings seem to fit each other. Just learned this morning, it was a comment in the Word Among Us, that the name or the word Isaiah means God is salvation. God is salvation. How'd you like a name that means that? The name John means God's gracious gift. I don't know, am I? Don't answer that out loud. What does your name mean? But it strikes me, Isaiah, God's salvation. The tone seems deeply spiritual, but then it changes. The way of the just is smooth, the path of the just is made level. Yes, your way and your judgments, O Lord, for we look to you. Your name and your title are the desire of our souls. That's the suffering. If a person is really longing for God, they're pining for God, that's not easy. Because people who long and pine for love, beautiful as it is, and it's really a grace, it's a gift, it's holy, but it's not easy. My soul yearns for you in the night. My spirit within me keeps vigil for you. Don't lovers do that? The lover for the beloved? Yeah, it's a kind of suffering. Listen to John of the Cross, Teresa of Avila, Teresa of Lisieux, and many other mystics, or just everyday people like you and I. But then it changes. You, O Lord, oppressed by your punishment. That's a different tone. We cried out in anguish under your chastising. They're feeling the weight of humanity, sin, oppression. As a woman about to give birth writhes and cries in pain. Don't know that experience. Many of you do. So were we in your presence. In some ways, the image is really the womb of the soul in its suffering and longing for the Lord. The closer one gets to the Lord, the more painful is the smallest sin. For those who don't know the Lord or don't care about the Lord, the largest sin seems of no matter at all. But as one gets closer to the Lord, even the smallest thing feels like great punishment, because the soul, the purity of God in the self, is longing for God. I think these two passages are married to each other. Beautiful. Love is difficult, but its yoke is easy, and according to Jesus, it's light. Let's do the best we can to do and to be that.